What's up, everybody? Chris Harris here from Sample Spotlight, and today we will be checking out Impact Soundworks KORON. KORON features 11 gigabytes of content and over 17,000 samples. Included in this are over 1,200 performances for the 10 various world instruments from Iran, including 5 stringed instruments and 5 percussion instruments. This uses their Tact engine. It's for the full version of Contact 5.5.2 and above, and retails for $199. At the time of recording this review, KORON is currently on sale for $179. Okay, so here is the main interface of the KAMANCHE, which is the first instrument in this library. On this main page, you have control over microphones, close and room, including pan and volume control. You have control over dynamics via CC1, which can be configured in their articulations page here. You also have control over sampled vibrato and turn that off. Sorry about that. And then we have control over the envelope on an articulation basis. So each articulation can have different settings, and they're saved accordingly to the key switch below here. You have control over an extra dynamic filter, which what this does is enables a low-pass filter corresponding to dynamics. So the lower you play or lower dynamics you play, the less high frequencies that are going to be heard, which kind of adds to a more dynamic sound. There's a purge unused feature here that you can turn on and off. Pitch bend is enabled by default, but you can turn it off as well. There's a string realism feature here. Now what this does, I believe, covers instruments that have different strings or per string sampling. So they've recorded each individual string, but they have them mapped different strings for across the keyboard. So if you have that on, then it will only play one of those strings at a time and not both strings that can play that sample. So that's pretty nice as it tailors to more realism in the instrument. You can turn the release triggers on and off, as well as control the actual volume. You have fine-tune controlling, and associated with tuning is you have this table down here, which allows you to tune by note up to 100 cents in pitch. So you can change the root of whatever you want to correspond to this chart up here, and then there's also presets below here that are actual tuning configurations for different types of tunings for these instruments. So these are more authentic. If you want to be idiomatic to the instrument, then probably looking some of these up to kind of get an idea of how they're tuned. As you can see here, different ones have different tuning settings. So I'll show some more about that and how it sounds later. You have control over smoothing out the vibrato depth as well as the frequency. And then only in this KAMANCHE patch do you have control over legato length, which is how long the legato transition will be, as well as the fade out into the sustain and the fade in to it. So these are only in this patch. The rest were not recorded with legatos. How you actually use the legato is via the sustain pedal. Okay, so let's just kind of start listening. I've wasted enough time talking. All right, so just using it by default, we have the bowed sound up here, and then below we have the actual range in the blue, and then they have an extended range on the top end to go into. So yeah, let's take a listen. And as you can hear there where I have the pedal down, there's a very long kind of portamento. I'm going to turn that down. You can see here the length is now to like 90 milliseconds. It's a little bit faster. To give it a little bit more presence, I'm going to bring up the room mic a bit and pull down the close. And I'm going to go into the effects here and turn a little reverb on. And let's take the wet down just a bit and the size. So you can hear there's just kind of a nice quality to this instrument. Now, the KAMANCHE, there's an info page here in this patch, and as you can see, there's it gives you basically everything you need to know about it, kind of how it sounds, the standard type of performance that's you would use it for. So let's take a listen to some of the other key switches here. We'll go and listen to a staccato. And the harder you play, I kind of notice there's or the longer you sustain, sorry, you can get a more drawn out presence in it. And the release, you can get a shorter release, which is pretty nice. So in the main page here, we can control in the staccato the release time. So when I play short, you can kind of get that sound that you need. And then also in the page here, you can control, in the advanced settings here, the offset of the sample, which allows you, it cuts into the start time of that sample so you can get a little shorter sound. The one thing you don't get is the kind of grit of that initial attack. So that's kind of the downside to using the offset. It gives it a little bit of a softer attack. It almost sounds kind of muted versus kind of that initial kind of bowing grit that you would normally get. So going back to the main page here, let's check out the pizzicato. And then we'll take a listen to the tremolo, which is dynamically controlled. Which has a nice grittiness to it. And then we also have trills. Again, dynamically controlled. And then let's take a listen to some of the tunings here. We'll put the staccatos back on, and we'll use this one. So starting on C, actually, so you can hear just a regular scale. So that's kind of what we're used to from, like, if you have a more Western, central hearing and used to the Western sound of music, hearing this will be slightly different. And then we have the Homayan. And then we have the Sega. And then we have the Shaharga. And then Nava. And then you can do custom, and then save and load your own presets in there as well. So if we did something like that, we'd get sounds pretty crazy. All right, so that is the KAMANCHE. Let's take a listen to the SANTOOR. Now, there's no legato in this, so you don't have those features, but everything else you pretty much have control on, except the string realism, which I guess I could have showed you that. Let's add that back real quick. Solo, and take a listen here. The string realism. So one of the things you have down here is these key switches, which allow you, if you look in the bottom section, you can force certain strings. So there's 4 strings to choose from on this instrument, and you can force the strings to kind of show up in their natural range. So if you hit this, the green range is string 1, then string... You can see where you can force the different strings to play in that range. So a nice feature to be included in this library to kind of give you more control over where you want your performance to take place and which range of the instrument. Okay, here's the Santoor. Brief overview. It's kind of like a dulcimer or hammered dulcimer. So you'll kind of hear that similar kind of timbre, but there's a different type of character than you're used to. So here's the normal playing. My bad. That's got some of the percussion going. Here we go. If you look there in the middle of the keyboard range, you have this red key. Now what this does is it actually plays back the previous sample. So you can do things more like this. So it definitely lends itself to more performable than some other libraries out there where you just get the playable and you kind of have to do single notes. So here we have the Darab playing style. And then we have tremolo, which is a pretty awesome sound. And then, yeah, so those are the final ones you have control over. So, anyways, I really like the performance capabilities of the Santoor. It's a very good sounding sampled Santoor. All right, so one thing we can do here is take a listen to the room mic by itself. And then let's take a listen to the close. So the close is very nice, like stereo width to it, whereas the room kind of has a slightly more centralized sound. So I really do like kind of using this type of balance. And you can kind of pan as needed to kind of get that, or you could do something ridiculous like this. If we pull this up, darn it. Hate when that happens. You can kind of create that kind of close width. Which is good sometimes if you want to have multiple of these instruments. You can keep the room, and then for one of the other instruments, pan the room to the other side and the close, and you can kind of get a nice performance kind of positioning sound. So definitely options there to use. Now, as you can see, one of the things with this library is just very fine positioning for certain things. You can end up pulling the patch, and some libraries are like that, some aren't. This is one of those libraries where I kind of have a difficulty with some of the, the controls and getting, right on it just perfectly. I also wear glasses, and even though I have a very large monitor, I still sometimes can, be slightly off, from where it needs to be. So maybe kind of widthening some of those controls a little bit to make it a little easier, that would be pretty good. But that's not exclusive to just this library. A lot of libraries are like that, and it's just kind of one of those things you kind of get used to. But it can be a little frustrating sometimes. All right, so moving on, let's check out the next instrument, which is the sitar, which is not a what you would think it is. A sitar. It's a satar, and it's a 3-stringed instrument. And let's take a listen to this one. It's one of those days. Now there is kind of this legato sound, but you don't have control over the legato envelope like you did with the other instrument. Let's take a listen to, that was the hammer and pull. Here we have tremolo. And you can force. Here we have downstroke. Let's go back to the... actually, I believe we need to do... No, that's fine. Key switch. I'll C1. Let's put that on to D2. There we go. The main... There we go. And then you can hear the difference between a downstroke and then an upstroke. Kind of have a slightly tingier sound to that. Sorry, my dogs are making noise in the background. Quit that. Sorry. All right. This is great. Let's move on. Let's see here. Let's add a little effects to this one. Give it a nice sound, and we'll do my little mix here. All right. Turn up the release here. I really like the sound of this instrument. And you can hear that kind of movement in your left, the left stereo field. It's just kind of that room, the performer moving around, possibly breathing a little bit, and I think that's a great inclusion to keep stuff like that, because it just it adds life to the instrument. So the setar is a great. I love playing that instrument. Okay, here's a tambour to kind of give you an idea of this instrument. You can pause here if you want to read it, and then let's move on. Add just a little room, a little close there. Take a listen to what we have here. Now there's a lot more. We have a hammer and pull. This one you're gonna have that type of drone. We have let's see, short kind of roll. Tremolo. And here we can, let's go back to, we have downstroke and up. Anyway, so there you go. That's the tambour. You can get an idea of that. You have the strumming capabilities on this as well. All right, and then let's take a listen to the tar here. Me and that percussion. So, nice sound. I won't go into the other stuff. I don't want this to be a terribly long video. Okay, here's the percussion. Now, how they've done this is they've mapped it across the whole keyboard, and you have the range here. C0 to C#1 is one instrument. There's color changes, so you can get an idea of where each one is. But there's 5 different percussion instruments here, and there's an info tab for each of them. So what's really nice is that you have control over panning for all of them. So if we do a mix here, I'm going to just kind of slightly pan these accordingly. The nice thing is you have control over an envelope for every single note and articulation, which is awesome. I love that. So listening to it kind of dry right now. Here's the BENDIR. And then here we have the DAF. And then we have, comes up. Here we have the kuze. And then we have the tombak. Tons of different articulations there. And then we have the zarbe zorkane. Just kind of a deeper, the bass of this. Sorry, it's. So, you know, I'm not going to play a whole bunch of rhythms and stuff, but it's great that it allows you to sequence everything right off the bat. Now, where this library does shine in a different way, aside from the multi-sampled instruments, is they have performance patches. Every instrument included on here has their own performance, except for, I believe, just the atomic, everything but the zarbe, and a couple of the string instruments, I believe. So let's just take a listen. Or no, there's a zarb performance. Let's take a listen to the SANTOOR. And so we're going to do my little favorite way of using this. They have everything mapped accordingly by key switch to different BPMs and meters. You can have this sync to your host tempo. Currently, I'm synced at 78, but I'm actually going to go up to like 113. Just a random thing. You can control the start and end time of the phrase, and you can also loop it. So let's play. And then you can not loop it. This is what you would have. You just hold it as one shot. There's controls over the effects. Let's add a little reverb. And we'll turn the loop on. So now this is stretched from 90 BPM. Let's take a listen to a 130, slowed down a bit. You get the idea. Might be a little too much reverb, but whatever. So that's the SANTOOR. Different phrases. You have 6/8 here, which is pretty cool. And you can control either monophonic or polyphonic playing with it. So pretty neat sound. Let's check out the setar. So I love these types of patches because they're great for inspiring tracks and building things around. And they're, again, using the term idiomatic to the instruments. So they had a performer of these instruments who spent a lot of their lifetime learning, the traditions of these instruments. They recorded someone who has that experience. So nice mix of different types of textures and sounds that can do anything. Okay, so let's take a listen to one of the percussion instruments here. Let's do a little delay. you go. Okay, so, and then we have the kuza. Now I think this is a very important thing because multi-sampling these types of instruments that have the pitch variation and they're kind of, able to do these kind of, dunk, kind of, that's my vocal version of it. You can't really mimic that with multi-sample because it's a lot about the performance. A lot of instruments like these, in a way, they're based off of actual verbal, like words in this culture, and they're kind of considered talking drums. Now, I don't know too much about the kuza. Other instruments that I've studied, do similar things, and they are taught, and it's like a tradition that's passed down. You learn how to do this type of phrase. You're actually kind of speaking or saying something. The drum is speaking to you. So you can't do that with a multi-sampled instrument. It's pretty much, it would be absurdly large to be able to get that. So having phrases like this are very important. So I really like that they included some of these types of traditional sounds in there. Let's put the zarb up. There you go. So yeah, this is KORON by Impact Soundworks. I really like the quality, how this is recorded. It's pretty clean sounding. There's not a whole bunch of processing done to it, so it gives you a nice raw material out of the box to work with. And like I said before, the inclusion of all these performances, there's over 1,200 different recorded phrases. So it's very vast and capable of doing a lot in the kind of traditional Iranian style. So check it out. Again, right now it's on sale for $179, and it's a low impact library. Doesn't take a lot of resources to run. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's very easy to use, very intuitive, and yeah. So go check it out. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.